What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Today, we're just gonna be listening to some bullshit. The exact nature of the bullshit you can check out right now.
And I hear over and over and over again about how atheists want evidence that God exists. They want evidence. They want evidence. And that's great. I dig that. The problem is that a lot of atheists don't really want evidence.
Yes, we will be talking about evidence for God. Jason's gonna tell us what it is, and there's really only one surefire way to know. Alright, I don't know. Does anybody remember this guy? Please comment right now if you remember this guy. This guy was legit crazy as shit. He thought that Pascal's wager was a really good argument to convince somebody to believe in God or to prove that it's beneficial to believe in God.
Hi, y'all. So, I actually talked to this guy. He made this video, and I commented today asking him what the fuck was going on that back wall behind him. But I said it nice. I said, what are you doing on that back wall there? He says it's a mind map of all of the books of the Bible that follow prophetic linkage. And I said, what does that mean exactly? So here's his response. Every time Jesus quoted a book of the Bible, I connected the verse from the gospel to the book Yahshua quoted, as well as the prophecies concerning the branch and the left and right hand anointed. This way I found all of the books of God's true Bible.
Okay, so the true Bible is on the wall of a crazy guy living probably in the woods. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I asked the question based on the first simple answer, a mind map of all of the books of the Bible that follow prophetic linkage. I asked a question for clarification, and I just got more fucking confused.
It doesn't. That didn't help.
No.
I mean, he found the true Bible. The true Bible is up there on the wall.
Yep.
We will never know the true Bible because
it's on his wall.
It's on his wall, written on cardboard.
Maybe if I ask him to take some pictures of it, he'll send them to me.
Ooh, that would be awesome.
See what I can do.
Yeah. All right. So let's get on with this. So now, this guy right here, when I put up his portion of the video last week, apparently my subscribers went over there and littered his comment section. And so it prompted him to make this video. And that's what he mentions first. And then he's gonna, he wants something from us. Or he's gonna explain like evidence for God or something like that.
Hello there, my zealots. This is Joshua again.
What up, Joshua? I'm not a zealot, but I'm a heathen.
Coming at you. I just wanted to talk to you. I had this for the past 24 hours. I've had my comment section blow up over my atheist Pascal's wager video. Like, it blew up like crazy. The comments just went insanely nuts. And I hear over and over and over again about how atheists want evidence that God exists. They want evidence. They want evidence. And
okay, yes, we do want evidence, but we're gonna relegate it a little bit. We have standards for evidence over here. Evidence would not be anecdotal. It would not be just blind faith or anything like that. Evidence would be something substantial that we can repeat on our end and get the exact same results, thereby, verifying what you say is actual evidence that a God exists. Oh, emotional thing, like just saying, oh, hey, go and pray and God will show you the way. That sounds like a rhyme that like Pastor Greg Locke would come up with. Just go and pray and then God will show the way.
That's great. I dig that. The problem is that a lot of atheists don't really want evidence.
Wait, what? Okay, so let me get this straight. You had your comment section flooded with atheists asking for evidence, but we don't actually want evidence. I guess we're just talking to ourselves. You know what it is, honey? It's that skeptic mafia that exists on YouTube. There's a skeptic mafia out there. Oh, they go to comment sections and they just bomb the shit out of it with stuff like, where's your evidence for God? That's not how evolution works. No. It's the skeptic mafia. So there's only one person that could be the head of it. Armored Skeptic. He is the mafia boss. He's the mafioso of the YouTube skeptic mafia. I can't even say it with a straight face.
Okay, so they ask me, it's like, how do I know that God exists? I'm like, well, God gave me evidence. It's like, well, what's this evidence? I'm like, well, the evidence that God gave me won't be enough to convert you.
Okay, so I can understand, having some evidence and other people not being convinced by it. I also understand the need for a lot of evidence to corroborate, a certain claim. I can get behind that. But if the evidence that you have that convinces you of it is not going to convince anybody else out there at all, then I don't understand what value it really holds as far as evidence. It wouldn't really be evidence if it's like one-time use. If it's one-time use, it's just simply not evidence.
It won't be enough to prove to you that God exists. And they're like, well, if God is all-knowing, he would know what kind of evidence I would need to have faith in God. And I'm like,
I mean, that's right. If God is all-knowing, he would know what evidence it would take to convince any atheist or any person in general out there. He would know. So that's a legit criticism of what you're spitting here. So don't just write it off. I mean, if he's all-knowing, he would know. That's kind of the definition of fucking all-knowing.
That's true. And I'm like, the only evidence that you'll get, because God knows exactly what kind of evidence you need to believe that he exists, is that there's going to be a resurrection. You're going to be judged according to your actions.
So the whole point of evidence is that you can show it to other people, and while it may not be convincing for them, they can at least appreciate how the evidence is there and it exists, and it is somewhat convincing. Like it doesn't fully convince you that God exists, but you do see how, oh yes, this bit of evidence right here proves this particular aspect of God. But I need a little bit more in order to corroborate that, to make sure that this is actually the thing. It should still be substantial evidence. It doesn't have to convince anybody, but it still has to hold up.
And if your actions are evil, then you will be destroyed. And if you are actually...
Whoa, what? If my actions are evil, I don't know, God's got a pretty subjective view of what fucking evil is, because, I mean, he considers knowledge to be evil. He legit thinks that, or at least in his book, he pushes how knowledge is a very bad thing to do. At one point in the Bible, he actually says, hey, don't search out the knowledge of man. Knowledge is actually knowledge of me. I mean, that's a paraphrase, obviously, but that's exactly what it is. He redefines knowledge to be just knowledge of God, whereas the knowledge of man is just seen as evil. You see it in Genesis when they take the bite of the apple. They didn't take a bite of the tree of life. They took a bite of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. So right from the beginning, the Bible is very anti-knowledge.
Actions are righteous, then you will have everlasting life. That's the only evidence you're going to get that God exists. That's it. That's all you're going to get, because that's...
Okay, so the only evidence is that if you're good, you'll go to heaven, and if you're bad, you'll be destroyed and go to hell? I mean, I feel like that's what he said. If that's the only evidence, then I don't see why anybody ever believes in God. Because you can legit go up to anybody and spout the exact same formula off, but say it's like the big dick pink dragon up in the sky. That thing down there, it will piss holy acid fire on us if you don't believe in him. And then you're going to go and burn in that acid fiery, lake of fire down there. Or you could go and ride atop his back and aim the big dick acid penis.
That's the only evidence that you will believe. If you want evidence, if you're really seeking evidence, this is the thing, that God will only give you evidence if you are diligently seeking after him. If there is something, if you are wanting to know God, God will give you evidence. If you're not wanting to know God, then God will not give you any evidence.
Okay, so most atheists out there were Christian at one time. And so to say that, oh, if you diligently seek God, then he will give you evidence. But if you didn't want to know God, if you truly didn't want to know God, then he won't give you evidence. So all of those people that were Christian and converted or deconverted rather from the faith, I guess they just weren't really wanting to know God. So those hours that they spent on their knees praying to God, asking for evidence or asking for some sign that he's actually real and being given nothing, that means that they didn't actually want it. It feels like you're actually putting a lot of the blame on the person rather on God. Because it seems like if someone diligently, is seeking him, like you said, God should provide. But he fails, like, at every turn. There are people that diligently seek God and find God and get that reassurance, but every time, I guarantee you, every time, that particular line of evidence is always going to be emotional. It's going to be an appeal to emotion. They felt God deep inside of them. God came inside of them and exploded, and other innuendos.
Except for the resurrection. So I'm telling you out there, you atheists out there that say, I want evidence. I need evidence. I'm like, listen, you want evidence? Pray to God and diligently seek him and say, God, give me evidence that you exist.
Okay, this seems internally fucked. You're telling me that I need to pray to a God that I don't believe in and ask him to give me evidence. And if I diligently seek him, then he will give me that evidence. But you see, I can't really do this whole diligent seeking, or like I can't really pray to this God in like all earnesty. I have to somewhat believe that he is there or something in order for him to hear me. Like I don't think that I could sit there and pretend to diligently seek him when I don't really believe he's there. So I mean, it seems like you got a giant like catch-22 going on in your example here, or the only way to get the evidence. Also, why is there a bow on your wall? Well, yeah, I noticed it before, but I'm just now re-noticing it. It's like, why is there, like, do you shoot arrows at your wall and you pick which book you're going to read that day? Oh, yeah, I'll read this one. Oh, damn it, Genesis again.
And if you are truly seeking to know him, he will give you that evidence. And that evidence will only work for you. It won't work for anybody else.
Then it is not evidence. If it's a one-time use piece of evidence, then it's not really evidence.
And if God gives you nothing, then there's no evidence that God could give you that would make you believe. So I put this out there as a challenge to all atheists.
Okay, before you bring up your atheist challenge number 145, so you're saying that God wouldn't already know that he can't convince me. So if he can't convince me, but he created me, does that mean that he created me so that I wouldn't be convinced? Like, is that it? Or I guess you'd bring in like the whole free will argument. Would you say that, oh, it's my own free will to not believe in God? Okay, so then I'm choosing not to believe in God. So you're saying that I'm lying when I say that, I want to know if God exists. Apparently that makes me a liar because I don't really want to know it, because you know me better than I know myself. I don't know, just the whole thing seems really fucky, and I have no idea where to go from as far as like getting my evidence for God, because if the evidence that he gives me is a one-time use evidence, then I don't see the value in it. I really don't see how that is really going to help me. Well, I guess he's saying that it would convince me, but it won't convince other people. I don't know. I'm still very confused. So, I mean, if you guys understand this better, please leave your comments, because I have no fucking idea.
If you want evidence, diligently seek him, and he will give you evidence. And that evidence will only be for you and nobody else.
I don't know why he has to repeat. This is like the third time he's repeated this.
If there's no evidence that you could believe that God is real, then God will not give you any evidence except for the resurrection.
Oh, okay, so he will give me evidence. It's just the resurrection, which actually didn't happen because we have no evidence at all to suggest it. So the only evidence is a situation that we have no evidence to suggest actually existed, but that bit of evidence is supposed to convince me that it happened or that God exists or something? I don't know. This is giving me the runaround. It's giving me a headache.
So, I don't know. This is going to be a short video, but it's a challenge. It's the atheist challenge. You want evidence? Seek God. And
the real challenge here is understanding what the fuck you're trying to say in this entire video, to be quite honest.
If God gives you no evidence, then there's nothing you could believe there's no evidence.
Hey, KC, next time, can you ask him why he has a Zoroastrian Pokeball on his wall? Okay, because I really want to know what the fuck that captures, and if it does capture, like, anything, that would be cool as shit. Just first try, and then you catch it, that's pretty fucking dope right there.
So anyway, I put this out there, and I hope you come back at me. And anyway, because I mean, I'm digging the comments. I think it's awesome that you guys are coming at me. But
all right, well, that was Joshua. Say bye to Joshua, everybody. We may not see him again, although he does have a speaking in tongues little lecture that we might visit later. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, so it might be good. It might not. We'll see. We might see Joshua later, but thank you, Joshua, for dropping by, and I hope you'll consider being a heathen. Thank you, heathens, for joining us today. Have you left a comment yet? Well, if not, go down there right now and leave yourself a comment. I would really love to hear what you think about this dumbass shit we listened to today. While you're down there, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.